Welcome to a Legendarium special about Carlo Collodi, the man who created Pinocchio. Carlo Collodi was born during the year 1826, the eldest of 10 children born to a couple who lived in the Grand Duchy of Tuscany, one of the many mini-monarchies that dominated the Italian peninsula. Carlo's father worked as a cook and his mother served as a seamstress in the service of a Florentine marquess named Ginori Lischi. The family faced awesome struggles. Over 4 months beginning in December 1838, 4 of Carlo's younger siblings died, aged 4 months to 6 years. Overwhelmed by their loss, young Carlo's parents sent him to live for a time with his mother's family in the village of Collodi, outside Florence. From the name of this town, Carlo took his pen name since his given name was Carlo Lorenzini. His parents' employer took an interest in him and arranged for him to receive an education. Carlo first went to a seminary in preparation for a career in the church. Then, deciding he did not have the makings of a priest, he transferred to another school. At this time, when much of Italy remained impoverished and illiterate, few children of servants could hope to receive a classical education. This mixed background, both sophisticated and street, gave Collodi a unique voice and perspective. During his adolescence, Collodi went to work at a respected bookstore in Florence and began to mix with the intelligentsia. He became a committed Republican, determined to help overthrow the mini-monarchies which ruled most of Italy and create a republic. Twice in 1848 and then in 1859, he fought for the Risorgimento, which sought to liberate the Italian peninsula from foreign powers that often dominated Italy for most of Carlo's lifetime. At the age of 35, Carlo lived to see his long-cherished dream when Italy united under a constitutional monarchy led by King Victor Emmanuel II. During the generation that followed, Collodi reviewed books, music, and theater. He also wrote many political polemics, along with 6 comic plays. In other words, Collodi became the sort of literary jack-of-all-trades that historians are likely to call a journalist, while holding down a day job in the civil service. The fact that Collodi never married or had children no doubt made it easier for him to do all of this. To this day, it is unknown if Collodi simply never wanted to settle down, if he did not like children, as some said, or if he did not want to start a family because he watched 6 of his younger siblings die in childhood. Unfortunately, the new rulers of the Italian nation cared little about millions of such children and their families who lived in grinding poverty and died early in the countryside, especially in southern and central Italy. Collodi remained profoundly aware that children could not be expected to learn when hungry. In an 1877 open letter called Bread and Books, Collodi argued that all humans needed to eat and drink, be protected from the elements, and have a place to sleep. The only way out of this harsh eat-or-be-eaten world lay through education. Yet how could children hope to learn their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s when famished? Additionally, the new Italian state did not have shared values or even a shared language. In his 40s, Collodi contributed to an important Italian dictionary. This marked one of the many efforts to get Italians to agree upon a single language rather than local dialects that people 50 miles away might not understand. As reformers sized up the task of educating the populace of the new country, Collodi started writing for children. First, he did a translation of Charles Perrault's fairy tales and several instructional storybooks. Then in 1880, a publisher in Rome persuaded him to contribute to a fledgling newspaper for children called Giornale per I Bambini. Collodi then launched that publication's best-known serial, La Storia di un Burattino, or The Story of a Puppet. That puppet, of course, is Pinocchio. Its opening paragraph undermined the traditional idea of a fairy tale and sent a political message. It begins, "Once upon a time there was a king," my little readers will no doubt say in a flash. "No, children, you got it wrong. Once upon a time there was a piece of wood." That piece of wood, of course, became Pinocchio, and the story became the first globally known work of Italian children's literature. Throughout Collodi's book, he addresses the troubles faced by everyday Italians, especially foodlessness and poverty. Many of the characters spend their days scrambling for food. Pinocchio does back-breaking work for a bottle of milk, eats pear cores out of hunger, and Geppetto works for scraps of food, including stale crusts of bread. At the age of 63, Collodi suddenly died in the apartment where he lived above the Ginori porcelain shop in Florence. After he died, one of his nephews burned Collodi's letters, fearing that they could have compromised influential ladies. Could Collodi have had romantic entanglements with them? Might he have known too much? To this day, no one knows for certain. Yet there is a plaque outside the Ginori shop praising Collodi for using his wit and craft to carry out his life's true goal, to educate the people of United Italy. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.